Hi, I'm Bina Agarwal. I'm a professor of development economics and environment at the University of Manchester, and also until recently the director of the Institute of Economic Growth in Delhi. I've just finished participating in an exciting and very relevant panel on food for all. It's a panel which looks at issues of food production and food security. We looked, I in particular, but all of us, I think, agreed that we need to focus on small farmer production and the smallholders, because such a large proportion, 80% of India's farmers are smallholders. Many of them are also women. And so we need to not only increase infrastructure, but we also need to look at the access of smallholders and women farmers to that infrastructure. We need to focus on constraints they face in terms of access to land, to credit, to water, to new technology, extension, and to marketing. I also feel that it's very important to look at aggregation, because if you're very small, you don't take advantage of economies of scale. So aggregation requires cooperation. And although there's quite a lot of talk about cooperation in marketing, and that's certainly very important, we also need to move beyond that to other aspects of the value chain. For instance, it's extremely important to look at crop planning and access to inputs of small farmers, and perhaps we can be even more innovative and see whether it's possible for small farmers to come together to pool their land and farm as groups. And those would enable them to get the advantages that middle level farmers have. There are some interesting ideas. I was chairing the 12th Plan Working Group on disadvantaged farmers, and one of the ideas we put across was the idea of a land bank, which is at the village level. If everybody who had land to lease out could put it into the bank and get returns from that, and everybody who wanted to lease in land could come to the bank and lease in. And this would protect the leaser and leasee and reduce their transaction costs. This should be open particularly to small farmers rather than to the corporate sectors. One final point, I think we discussed it a bit, but perhaps it needs much more discussion, is that food security is also about nutritional security. And in that context, we need to look at what happens across households, the inequalities across households, but also what happens within households. Why is it that there is so much malnutrition still existing in households which are well off, or in states which have, on average, higher incomes? So questions of inequality, which go beyond averages, is a key part to our trying to solve the problem of not just agricultural production and higher food production, but also its distribution and therefore food security.